For those who are new here, I wanted to quickly introduce myself. My name is Stacy Volsi. I am a nonprofit consultant. I've been in the nonprofit industry for over a decade, and so 12 years to be exact. And I also co-founded a nonprofit. This nonprofit is currently operating at an annual revenue of 300,000 or more. I I removed myself from the board and working there as a project director to focus on my work as a nonprofit consultant. So I know right now they're over 300,000, 400,000 because I applied for a grant for them, two grants in September, $400,000, and they ended up getting it. And another one they're applying for this month is, well, I helped them apply as well last month, and it was a $1 million grant and that they're waiting for, and another one in the next few weeks for, if I remember correctly, about 900,000. And this organization started at zero, where it was me and the other co-founder funding this organization and family members funding the organization. So I say this for you to know that you're not the only one going through this, that a lot of times, it's just a matter of tweaking how you think about running the nonprofit and realizing it's not just a charity. It is a business, and you have to run it as such if you are trying to build an organization that's successful and actually can make an impact. Because I'm going to be honest, the pocket change and the money that you and your family are providing cannot make a significant impact unless you are Bill Gates or somebody like that. No, it cannot. So you need to build an organization that is able to bring in enough revenue to make the impact you say it wants to make. Because if your goal is to support the unhoused population, single mothers, think about the numbers, how many of them actually exist in your city and in the US and throughout the world for you to make a significant impact. If you think about how big your mission is or how big of an impact you can make, then you need to leave behind thinking small so you can actually make the difference you're looking to make. So that is how I know I approached it, because then our nonprofit started doing better when I adopted an entrepreneurial mind and started treating it like the business that it is. Because I also had business coaches throughout the year since 2020, and still now I have a business coach. And the lessons I learned from my business coaches, also I applied it to the nonprofit that I co-founded, and also the nonprofits that I've served, the clients that I've served. So you have to think about it as a business and to be able to move forward. So today we're going to talk about, I know it's a quick pivot out of it, but today we're going to talk about how one grant rejection or grant rejections, right? Let me type that. Receiving grant rejections should not be a reason the door closes in your nonprofit. I want you to let that sink in. All right, so it can continue its work. I'm gonna put that in my email, send this out, since I don't know about you, but has anybody else noticed since the ban on TT, I don't want to say the word, for Facebook to get in its feelings and like lower my reach even more? But has anybody noticed since the ban, they've been a little bit like more finicky about what we send out? Let me know. If anybody is experiencing that, definitely let me know in the comments, because it's been real over here. So anyways, one grant rejection or getting rejected for grants should not be a reason that your nonprofit is either shutting its doors or making less of an impact. The reason I say that is because nonprofit organizations, when you are thinking about the way that they are able to generate revenue, it's very important that the leaders or whomever is responsible for making sure that you have the resources that you need to implement the programs that the nonprofit has. They're able to look at the fundraising strategy plan. They're able to look at what the nonprofit is bringing in and how it can generate revenue. Because just like any other business, a nonprofit it needs to be able to generate revenue to continue making an impact. And if you're not able to do that, then you have bigger problems because, like, if you're not volunteer run, even if you're volunteer run, you still need revenue because how are you going to get the items or the products or whatever it is that you need to do the work that you're saying you're going to do? I really want you to evaluate that aspect of running a nonprofit. And if you're not into generating revenue for your organization so it can do better work, then you can exit stage left because this is not for you. Because then I look at it in the lens of where I'm living. I live in California. I live in the United States of America. It is a capitalistic country. And a lot of times, the things that you need, the resources that you need are going to cost money. And if money conversations are something that become hard for you, where you are making it in a you're thinking of it in a way that's unattainable, it's going to continue being that way. And I really want you to realize that your relationship with how you view money is going to affect how you're able to generate revenue in your organization, whether you like it or not. Because if you're not able to see it as a tool that you are gathering more of to do more good work, because then, let's be honest, a lot of nonprofits have amazing missions and can do a lot of good work if they actually had a strategy in place and were able to generate revenue that they need so they can do the work. But the fact that they're lacking strategy, they have no capacity building skills, and they have no revenue coming because they don't have the strategy or the capacity, then they're having a hard time. So that's where I'm coming from here. And I want you to realize that one issue is actually caused by other problems. And you need to be able to work on all of those at the same time so it can all go well. Okay. So now let's talk about how do you not depend on grants when it's the easiest. It's not the easiest because you got to apply for it. Because then you have to spend time applying for it. And a lot of people are focusing on hiring a grant writer to do it, but the grant writer is only as good as what your organization is doing. Now, let's say you hire a grant writer, but you have not been collecting data, you have not been collecting the metrics necessary, then it's going to be difficult for you to actually provide information that your grant writer can include in your application. I remember for the nonprofit I co-founded, we hired 2 grant writers in the past. That was in addition to the grant writing I was doing. Because then to kind of like give myself more time and hire out to delegate. And one of them didn't work out. Like, I understand sometimes you have to take a risk because then not all, like, grant writers cannot guarantee whether your grant gets accepted or rejected. That's one thing I want to make clear because too many people are thinking, oh, I paid the grant writer. Why don't I have a grant accepted? That's not their job. Because then it is not their job. Because you do not go in a surgery room saying, doctor, can you give me my money back if I don't survive? I'm going to give you a straight up example that's going to ruffle some feathers. You go in for a BBL and you come out looking like a clown. Are you gonna say, doctor, give me my money back because you didn't do a good job? You cannot, because they already did it. You gotta pay them because they did the job, following the instructions that you asked them for. This is what you asked for. This is what you looked at. Now, some of them will be botched, so I'm not talking about these ones, right? And that's why it's important for you to do your due diligence and have discernment on how you want this to go. Because oftentimes some people will delegate by not being present, and they hire a grant writer and be like, oh, take the reins. You can do whatever you want, but you cannot do that. Because if you hire a grant writer, you still need to have a standard operating procedure in place of how that goes, right? And you have to let the grant writer know you are hiring them to do work, but you still have internal processes. Do they have processes on their end to ensure that you, as the client, are able to review what they write before it's submitted? You need to make sure that you understand this before you hire a grant writer. Because how are you going to hire a grant writer, not review what they're writing or what they're saying about the organization, not provide feedback? Now, if you read it, you provided feedback and you were okay with it and it still got rejected, the problem's not the grant writer. The problem's what the organization's doing and what they're not doing, and the follow through that you're doing. Because a good grant writer, like, they're going to do so many things that you're not thinking about. Because then one of the grant writers that I hired in the past to help, she actually reached out to the funders. She was building funder relationship and also had some existing funder relationship because that's something she did. Now, if a grant writer is doing that, you hired someone that knows what they're doing. Because during my free grant writing masterclasses, I tell attendees that one thing that you need to focus on while you're writing grants is also building funder relationships. You want to make sure that you're building relationships with funders, the funders for the grants that you're applying for, and talking to them so like they know about your organization, they know what you're doing, and you can understand their priorities to support the grant you're applying for. Because when you know what their priorities are, it can help you tweak your grant application and approach it differently too. Because then a lot of grant applications will have webinars for their RFP or RFA. RFP stands for request for proposal and RFA stands for request for application. It depends what request they have out. Okay, so it'll have different acronyms depending on what they have out, but that's usually what it stands for. If there's an RF, request for, and then based on what they're asking for. Okay, so you have to build those relationships to help guide the application. And one question a lot of nonprofits are not asking is reaching out to the funders, especially the contact information, to find out how competitive is this grant. Is this a grant that has like 1,000 applicants? Because if you don't have a previous relationship with this funder, you can just imagine. And 1,000 people are applying for it. Where are you on the totem pole? Because unless you're doing amazing work in the community and you're on the news and everything, where are you on this totem pole? So reach out to the funders, ask them about the competitiveness of the grant, what their priorities are, send an introductory email to find this out, and start building a relationship with them before the due date of the grant. Now, if the due date is within a few days and you're doing it and you're just winging it and want to go for it, sure, go ahead. That's your time you're wasting. But building those relationships beforehand make a huge difference. Ask them about the competitiveness and if they would be open to, because if they already had a webinar, if they're open to doing a Zoom call because you had more questions. And please do not go on there asking questions that are already on the grant application or on the request for proposal or request for application. That is something that they absolutely abhor. Because then if you go on some of these webinars and people are asking questions that are already answered, there is nothing worse than being asked a question that's already answered, but because people did not want to do their due diligence and read it, they're asking the questions. Like, please read it first. Read it thoroughly, because they will tell you, read this first. It's a lot of work, but do it. There was a request that earlier this year, it had about 60 something pages. Y'all, when I say this was long to read, it took me, like, I had to take a few hours off throughout the day, and also at night. I had to tell the father of my children, hey, watch it, because I'm going to be busy reading this. And I had to take a highlighter because I'm not a person that can read on a computer screen for too long. I printed it, stapled it, took my highlighter, took my pencil, and went ahead and read the whole thing. That's what's required. So sometimes it will take a few hours for you to go through it, but that's what you need to do. Go through it, email the funder, ask questions, and find out how competitive is it and what are your priorities, what are you looking for in applications, so you can have an idea of what you need to submit. Because that's really important for you to determine before you submit this grant, because what if you spend a whole week applying for this, right? That's your time and resources that you could have saved if they told you, hey, this is a competitive grant. And if you know your organization is not a strong organization, like, scrap it, go to the next one. And that's why in every masterclass on grant writing that I do, I strongly suggest that people start a grant calendar. Okay? Like, for some reason, it didn't come out right, but a grant calendar. Because then I provide all the attendees with a template. Build a grant calendar with grants that you want to apply for throughout the year. If they are due like in a few weeks, write down what you need for this grant, or look at the proposal, put the notes for that, the deadline, the link to apply, build a grant calendar, because some of them are rolling deadlines. If you've never heard of the term rolling deadlines, that means that these funders, they put out the same proposal or application every year, or like periodically, and you can apply for it at a different time. So that is something that you can do. Just put it on the grant calendar and put a note for yourself of, okay, next year in September, I need to apply for this. Or next year in March, I need to apply for this, and set something on your calendar, maybe in February or January, if it's the March deadline, that you're going to check with the funder about this grant to see when they're going to release the new application. And that's a way to start building the relationship as well. Okay, it's definitely a way for you to build the relationship, because what is happening there is that, let me see, is that you're able to ask them questions, build a relationship. They see how eager you are. They learn a little bit more about your organization, because then when it's a down period, take that opportunity to ask questions about what your organization needs to prepare. Like, it sounds simple, but it really is. So please, like, get it together. Stop thinking that these grantors and funders just don't want to support you, and start doing the work that nobody else is doing, because everybody and their mama applying for grants out here. Like, what's going to make your organization stand out? Like, and that's where I come in. Because then one thing I do with grant writing is that I offer grant writing services only for 2 organizations. Every 6 weeks, I can take 1 client, because it does take research, it does take work. And if you've been on my Stan Store, you'll see the link for grant writing services, because there's Done With You, where you write it out, and then we work together for a whole week to strengthen the application, and I work with you on that. And there's Done For You for different levels of organizations. If your organization is over 50,000 in annual revenue and just needs to apply for a grant that's over 10K or whatever amount, there's a certain fee depending how much is the grant I'm applying for. Because then let's be honest, the smaller ones require less. Some of them require more, which I do not mess with because I am not doing 5 days worth of work for $3,000 in grants. I'm just saying, because that you can do yourself. And that's something I want you to realize. Sometimes you have to build your capacity internally and your skills and resources by attending classes and master classes, workshops to learn how to write a grant better so you can submit applications yourself, because not all of them require a grant writer. Now, you can go on my Stand store and look at my grant writing services to see if it's something that you would like to sign up for. So that's one nugget I want to drop about grant writing services. Now, the other aspect with grant writing services, if you've been doing it yourself and like me, you want to use AI to support your work. Because then I've had over $1 million in grants approved right now, soon to be 2 million. And AI has been supporting my work along the way, because sometimes you need grammar check. Sometimes you need ideas. Sometimes you need to review the rubric and see how strong your application is and get some feedback on how to improve it based on the rubric. These are all things that AI can help you with. And if you're interested in getting my prompts for AI, definitely go on my Stand store. There's a AI-powered grant writing prompts for $11. Go ahead and grab your copy. And if you have any questions after you purchase that, okay, this is what I'm trying to do, there's not a prompt for that, you can always email me and I will give you a prompt. Because me and AI, we friends. I talk to mine. My ChatGPT is not called ChatGPT, it's Chasey, because I'm called Stacy. So it's Chasey, and Chasey knows I'm not messing with her. So if you have questions after you purchase it, like, please email me, because I will give you the tea. I will give you a prompt to get it to get your AI together or to get what you're looking for. And if we need to schedule a consultation, I have 1-hour consultations for $97 for me to like go over what prompts and how to train your AI to understand what your nonprofit does and how to write a grant application better for you. We can do that. Because in December, I'm offering 5 consultations for $97 because the price is usually more. 5 people. If that's something you want to do, sign up for that. That's one way you can use it. If your challenge is training your AI, schedule one. So there are services throughout my Stand store to help different organizations between 50,000 to 5 million. Go check to see how I can support yours, because this is where I'm coming in and telling you that where you are and where you're not is still your responsibility. There's a reason that your organization is where it is. There's a reason where it is not where it needs to be. And I need you to start taking accountability for that and realize that nobody owes you anything and nobody's coming to save you or your organization until you do the work. So with that said, I'm gonna go eat. And if you have any questions, drop them in the comments. And I'm looking forward to hearing from everybody. And I don't know what's going on with my Facebook. That's okay. I'm probably going to take it to LinkedIn if Facebook decides to continue messing with me, but that's okay. Anyways, y'all, I'm going to go and have a wonderful rest of your day. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat. Looking forward to talking with you. Bye, y'all.